we have 5 minutes?
寒いよね、暑いよね。これ持ってきたらなんかないの。今日も少し。貸してくれるらしい。前貸してくれなかったけど、誰か借りたって言ってなかった。なんかね、なんでっけ、貸してくれたり貸してくれない。私のは特殊だから。ああ、そう。来週？ヤンシモンって。フィンランド。なんで？じゃあ近いとこ行った方がいいんじゃないですか。そっちがいいかな。そうかな。どうですか？
ありがとうございます。
いえいえいえ。お財布にお金が全く
財布開けたら、ちょっと前にこういう感じで使って、だって外出ていこうとするから。レジ
の前で使ってたの？レジ違う、ここに来て。
飲み物を買おうと思って開けたら、ない。
あ、そっか、ここにね。私来るとこれ振って入ってると思って振って入ってると思って持ってこないとね、使っておいて
でもなんか受付で借りれると聞いちゃったから
ね。そうだけどダメなんですって。富谷さんはちょっと自分のじゃないケースだけあるんじゃね、もうやってしまってだから
ダメ下で借りるの
ダメなんです。いいよダメなんです。使っておいてきちゃったんですね。そうダメね。すぐね、
先週だったらリーディンググラスに老眼っていう
リーディンググラス
ニアサイティニアサイティでは気になってでもあれは老眼鏡って言い方しない
リーディンググラスにおっしゃるんですか。
リーディンググラス
老眼？
リーディンググラスですよ。
レーディンググラス。グラスです。リーディンググラスっていうグラスです。確かに。
お片目の人でしょ。
あ、そういうふうに言うんですか？
リーディンググラス。
お利口になったね。
老眼
シニアグラス。
シニアグラス。老眼はシニアグラス。
とは言わない。
リーディンググラスといえばちょっと雰囲気がいいですよね。インテリっぽい感じがします。ここじゃなかったですか。ここの2345とか言って。
あれ5番だ。
頑張って。
アレンジこれがクラスの昔かな。レイジャーアクティビティ、ブラインドディ、ウェディングアニバーサリー、キャンドルライティング、難しい。
115ページ？あんまり見すぎてその間が広かったら寂しいね、とみえさんね。大丈夫？そこ空いちゃってたからね。大丈夫。
テストどうだったんですか？
だから
日にち
今日また
月曜日やっちゃうんじゃない。
今日
じゃないですか。
かわいそうね。そうもういいんです。間違えた
アレックスがね何をやったか選んだか覚えて知ってればきっとね。
そうね。そうで私ほらだってこう選んだからその中からやっぱこれがちょっとやっぱり前もやっちゃったしちょっと優しいかなとか思って選んじゃったからちょっといけないとかそういうの知らなかったじゃないですか。でも私が言うべきだったのかなこれお前と
これやったって
いいのかしらって
普通ラッキーって思いますよね。
ちょっと優しいかな。前にもちょっと一回やったしとか思っちゃったそうだね。でもダメですよね。やっぱりね考えたらね私が聞くべきだったかまあねちょっと言ってくれればよかったな。そうでもさあんまり飲まされて嫌よね。飲まされるのも嫌。陽子さんどうしたの？陽子さんね。オーストラリアなの？ずっとそんなに長く？
昨日入ってるんですよね。
多分だから 前後はやっぱり疲れるから、前後前は疲れるかどうかわかんないけど、やっぱり準備の前日だからっつって、長い間じゃないんだけど、なんかその前後休むに2、3回は休むね。それを
あなたちょっと見える結構
どのぐらい？
この前月曜日の映画がちょっと
月曜日で3回目、いや、
チームに行った時
3週間でしょ？
この状態で
2週間、3回目。そんなもんだ
よ。
私ね、こっちが悪いのよね、これも。でも悪いし、こっちも悪いのよ。ここも悪いのよ。本当はそっちがいいんだけど。
月曜日お休みして、
ここも見にくいですよね。
だから見にくいと思う。だけど、聞こえるのはそっちの方がいいんだ。
でもすごい疲れるじゃない？
こっちの方がいい。
私はね、だんだん疲れるから。
私全然それと言えないの分かる。
多分最近から近づけてるんで、この前もっと遠くだから見えるやっぱりね。多分これかなと。
安価なのでしていただいてないから。
中も行った方がいいもんね。どこに行ったんだろう。
メルボルンだから、でもスーザンには合わないなって言ってた。
スーザンのメルボルンにいいの？
前はそんなこと言ってたけど、今わかんないけどね、結構ね。1歳半ぐらい
？12月生まれだからもうすぐ1歳じゃない？
そうだよ。12月よね。
違う、アースクイックの後に生まれたんだから。前12月、でもその次年の12月に1歳になっちゃったから、
もう1歳
もう2歳になっちゃう。じゃない
早い。
そうじゃない、もう何ヶ月になります？
そうね、5ヶ月ぐらいになっちゃうから。
5ヶ月？
だって6月
だったもんね。そうそう、6月。
今月での終わりでもう5ヶ月。
年になっちゃうもんね。
だからもしかしてそうだわね。2歳になっちゃう。生まれてたんでしたっけ？生まれてたからもう焦って帰っちゃったのね。
そうそう、3月が3ヶ月で、ほらミルクとかね、心配する。
そうそうそう。だけどね、赤ちゃんその時一番そういうの抱えてる方が大変だからね。そうそう。
Hi everyone. So just before the class was starting, I was talking to Matsuhisa. He said his computer recently had a problem. Mine too. Same day. Both of our computers had big problems. So I think maybe we're unlucky. Our luck is matched together. I don't know. His is a little different. Like, so you had accident and spill.
Yeah, really? やっちゃったの？
What kind of problem?
インディビデュアル
Different problems. His problem was he spilled water on the computer. So like accident. My problem was that I don't know what the problem is. I turn it on in the morning and it shows a screen. It's trying to start, but nothing happens. For 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, nothing happens. Turn it off, turn it on. Screen, something like working. And then last night I left it on for about 14 hours, nothing. So I don't know what's wrong with it. I asked a couple of guys, like IT guys, that work here, and they said, well, maybe this. Well, we can fix it. Like, new computer. I looked on Amazon yesterday, and for a really basic netbook, really basic computer, like under Niman. So I thought, maybe just buy a new computer. Anyway. Yeah, they're really cheap. Really cheap.
How long have you been using that?
About 3 years.
Only just
Yeah, about 3 years. But I use it a lot, but I think computers should last at least 5 years or 6 years. I hope, but not this time. So too bad. But today I wanted to start off with maybe Frank Gehry. I want to finish Gehry. So does everyone still have your worksheet for Gehry? Does anyone need a copy? So last time we did a little discussion and we did listening just one time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so today I'd like to check and see how we did on the second part. Have any of you finished the listening for details? Have you done this section? Part of it, okay.
Just this.
Just the listening. All right. Well, why don't we start with this? So let's listen one more time. I want to finish this section, the listening for details, and then I also want to do the conversation on the back. We'll listen to this conversation. When we finish with this, we'll continue with the review from the textbook, and then we'll start the new chapter. And then the second hour we'll do completely the new chapter, and then we'll do chapter or episode 8 from the movie. This is the third hour. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's listen again to the lecture and see if we can get these kind of missing details on the back. Okay, so page 77 and listen for details. And maybe let's go through a couple of them together before we listen. So it says decide if the answers or the statements are true or false according to the lecture. Number 1, designing buildings is both an art and a science. True, definitely true. An example of a building being sound is one that protects people from bad weather. True, yeah. So a sound building means a building that is strong. It won't fall down, for example, like in an earthquake or something. But also, if you have a hurricane or a snowstorm or other bad weather, a sound building would continue to stand. So that would be true. Number 3, the speaker says that the intended use of a library is a place to learn. False. He says a school is a place to learn. Okay, how are you? Not D, 4. Everyone agrees on aesthetics because styles in architecture don't change much. False. So remember last week we were working on subjectivity. Everybody has different ideas on what's beautiful or what's not beautiful. So number 4, yeah, not everybody agrees. People have many different ideas. And then let's try one more. Plywood and sheet metal are examples of simple building materials Geary used in the 1970s. Actually, I don't know. He used plywood and sheet metal later, but I think maybe not in the 1970s. Maybe, I don't remember. It said that his beginning of his career was a really typical, normal, traditional architect. His buildings were not so unusual. But then, eventually, he started making buildings that were much more complex, much more interesting. And one of the examples was using things like, they said like this kind of material. So this type of material would be sheet metal. So he's using this kind of material, but I'm not sure if he's using this in the 70s. It might be a trick question. It might have been he's using it in the 80s or the 90s or something like that. I know he's using it. It said he's using plywood, he's using chain link fence, he's using sheet metal, but I don't know if it's in the 1970s. So we'll have to check. It did talk about, from maybe 1977 to 1978, he started using unusual architecture, for example, with his house. It said his house was kind of a very unusual kind of design. And I don't think I showed you on Monday, but let me show you what his house looks like. So this is his house in California, which isn't so unusual, but I don't know, you can see a little bit of his designs kind of with the glass and the different look of it, but it's not so unusual. That's much more unusual. The house, this is in, I think he says Santa Monica, California. So this is from California. And also, actually, this is sheet metal too. This is actually kind of a very simple, basic material. Most people don't use this on their house. Most of them use it for maybe like a garden shed or something like that. But he liked it, he thought he could use it in his buildings. So anyway, it's at least half true. So definitely plywood and sheet metal he's using, but I don't know if it's the 1970s or after the 1970s. So we'll have to listen and check. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's check and then, or listen, and then we'll check all together afterwards. So let's try again, one more time from the beginning.
Frank Gehry, pages 76 and 77. Listen for main ideas and listen for details.
Okay, today we're going to talk about Frank Gehry, one of my favorite architects. If you've seen any of the buildings he's designed, like the Dancing House in Prague, you'll know why. It's a wonderful, colorful building near the river. Many tourists go to see it. But today, we'll consider Frank Gehry's work not as tourists, but as architects. It's understood that architecture is both the science and the art of designing buildings. We use science to make sure that the building is strong, and we use art because we want the building to be beautiful. In other words, we think about the aesthetics or artistic value of the building. Now here I want to mention Vitruvius, the Roman architect who lived in the 1st century BCE. He said that a building must have 3 fundamental characteristics. 1, meet its intended use. 2, be sound, which means strong. And 3, be beautiful. He wrote these ideas 2,000 years ago, and they're still the foundation of architecture today. Let's go over these 3 characteristics in depth. First, a building must meet its intended use. Architects would think about the reason the building is being built as they design it. For example, the intended use for a school is a place to learn, right? Here, architects must ask themselves, what type of design is best for both students and teachers? Second, a building must be structurally sound. What do I mean by this? I mean the design must follow these basic principles. Is it safe? Will it last a long time? Will it protect people from bad weather? Architects agree that a building must be able to do all of these things. Third, a building must be beautiful. Aesthetics is a harder principle to agree on, and buildings last a long time if they're built properly. And so something built 50 years ago may not be considered beautiful now. Styles in architecture change, like with clothes or cars. All right, to highlight what I've said thus far, in addition to meeting the intended use, a building's design must also be structurally sound and aesthetically pleasing to people. Is everyone clear on this? Now I'd like to shift to talking about Frank Gehry's work and how he applied these 3 characteristics of architecture. Have any of you seen his buildings? Like the Walt Disney Concert Hall in Los Angeles or the Fish Dance Restaurant in Kobe, Japan? It looks like a gigantic fish. I see a few hands, great. Then you'll know what I mean when I say his style is very distinct. He was an architectural pioneer who wasn't afraid to try new ideas. His designs are exciting and inspirational because they push us to explore the possibilities. Specifically, how can we describe his style? I can think of 3 words: resourceful, playful, and innovative. It's resourceful because of the building materials. It's playful because of the bright colors and fun designs, like his store in Venice, California, with giant binoculars at the entrance. And it's innovative because he said goodbye to traditional architecture and experimented with new ideas. Now let's look at these 3 descriptions one at a time. Resourceful. In the 1970s, Gehry started utilizing simple building materials in his designs, like sheet metal and plywood. In fact, he's famous for using chain link fence, the kind of fence you see around construction sites to keep people out. I'm sure you've all seen it around a building being built. Since he knew the fencing would always be there, he decided to use it in his designs. For example, he designed a mall in California with a huge wall, 6 stories high, covered in chain link fence. He went on to use other materials, of course, but he started there. Playful. His designs use bright, bold colors like yellow, orange, blue and gold. Examples include the EMP Museum in Seattle and the DG Bank building in Germany. And finally, innovative. Many of his buildings don't have straight walls. He uses irregular angles and shapes. A great example of this is the Vitra Design Museum in Germany. That's V-I-T-R-A. The building looks like it could fall down, to be honest. But of course it won't, because Gehry designed it to be structurally sound. So how did Gehry develop his dynamic style? Up until the early 1970s, he did traditional architecture. However, he didn't feel it allowed him to be creative enough. He began experimenting with his design ideas by working on houses, including his own house in Santa Monica, California, which he worked on from 1977 to 1978. Many neighbors didn't like the design of his house, but Gehry did. Now we ask, why did he develop this distinct style? He once said that he thinks like an artist. For him, a building is like a big sculpture or a big work of art. He pushes the limits of what is structurally possible from an engineering standpoint in order to create beautiful buildings. But I want to stress, he's also said that he always keeps in mind that a building is a sculpture that people interact with. If the building doesn't please them as a work of art and meet the intended use, he's failed in his objective. In closing, I want to say that Frank Gehry is a noteworthy architect because his work challenges me and other architects to consider how to use simple materials while designing strong, beautiful, and purposeful structures. Now go build something.
Okay, so this was the lecture. One more
Unit
time.
8.
So what I'd like you to do with your partner now, I'd like you to check the answers from the 5 to 10. And then we'll check all together, and then we'll go on to the next page and finish it up. So I guess today we have even partners almost. All right, Kay, Santogo, can you guys work together here?
Okay.
Just see if you can explain what we're doing, and then Tomie, if you can check with me.
Did you get
All
it?
right, so. Okay, so let's go ahead and check, and then we'll, if you have some problems. So number 5 is true. So it did say 1970s, he used kind of simple materials. Let me see, yeah. So it said here, it said in the 1970s, Gehry started utilizing simple building materials in his designs like sheet metal and plywood. And in fact, he's famous for using chain link fence, the kind of fence you see around construction sites. And then he said, not beautiful, he said, since he knew the fencing would always be there, he decided to use it in his designs. So usually you have a construction site, and then to try to keep people outside of it, they put a fence around it. He just thought, well, let's use it. Let's put it inside the design. He didn't say because beautiful. So number 6 is false. Number 7, the speaker is worried that the Vitra building in Germany might fall down because it doesn't look sound. False. He says it looks like. So he says he uses irregular angles and shapes. A great example of this is the Vitra Design Museum in Germany. That's V-I-T-R-A. The building looks like it could fall down, to be honest. But of course it won't, because Gehry designed it to be structurally sound. So he's not worried. He knows that it's going to stand. He knows it's going to be strong. So it looks bad, but it's not. So number 7 is false. Number 8, Gehry uses irregular shapes and angles to see what's possible from an engineering standpoint. True. True. So he said, down below, where is it? Yeah, well, this one. So he pushes the limits of what is structurally possible from an engineering standpoint in order to create beautiful buildings. So true. Number 8 is true. Number 9, the speaker believes that Gehry thinks more like an engineer than an artist. False. It's the opposite. He thinks more like an artist than an engineer. So he's So he says he's always keeping in mind a building is a sculpture that people interact with. If the building doesn't please them as a work of art and meet the intended use, he has failed in his objective. But before that, he said he thinks as an artist. Where is it? Yeah. So he once said that he thinks like an artist. So for him, a building is like a big sculpture or a big work of art. So firstly, he thinks about, he's an artist. Secondly, he thinks about the mathematics, the engineering, and so on. So number 8 is false, or 9 is false, and 10 is true. All right, we'll turn the page. Let's listen to some students talking about his work. Basically, I just want you to see if you can understand their conversation. Because, again, we have four different students, but we don't really have an idea of who is who. They don't say their name. So we have Michael, Yini, May, and I don't know how to pronounce that. Maybe Xiang? Xiang? I'm not sure. So we have 4 sentences. Frank Gehry is one of the greatest architects ever. Frank Gehry will be forgotten by history. Frank Gehry's engineering abilities are put to good use. And I'm a Frank Gehry enthusiast. Do you understand what it means, enthusiast? I'm an enthusiast. Okay, if you say as an adjective, I'm enthusiastic, that just means you're really excited, very interested about something. But if you are an enthusiast, this is a person, it just means you're very, very interested in this area, in this topic. So it's kind of like your passion or your interest. So I'm a coffee enthusiast. I love cafes, I love coffee, I love visiting places like that. Or I'm an art enthusiast. I'm an architecture enthusiast. So it just means I'm a person who likes this thing. So let's listen, first time, just see how much we're able to catch from their conversation. And then we'll see if we can do some of the exercises. But mostly, let's just focus on the listening.
Unit 8, Architecture, Frank Gehry, page 78, talk about the topic, parts A and B.
You know, Frank Gehry's work is so cool. All those wild shapes and strange angles, that guy's gonna go into the history book as one of the greatest architects ever.
I mean, I can see why you'd say that. His buildings are distinct, but in my opinion, he'll be forgotten by history.
Huh?
Well, I mean, his work's like bubblegum. You chew it for 20 minutes, and then you're bored with it.
What? I wouldn't say that. Maybe his work might not excite you, but his buildings can be found all over the world. And, I mean, come on, they're unlike anything else.
I mean, I hate to disagree, but to me, different doesn't mean good.
Okay, then what would you say about his engineering abilities? Can you say he's noteworthy for that?
Okay, sure, I can see that. But then why doesn't he put those abilities to use in a more practical way? Like building bridges.
Okay, Mike, so you're the traditionalist.
Okay, I mean, to tell you the truth, I'm not too crazy about his work either. But I think his, I don't know how to say it, resourcefulness is inspiring. I mean, to use old building materials, chain link fence, and plywood, it's so much better than throwing it away.
So here's our environmentalist.
Okay, well then what about you two? What are you? I mean, are you traditionalists, modernists, or what?
I don't know. What are we?
I don't know, I guess you could just call us Frank Gehry enthusiasts.
Maybe I should start a fan club.
Maybe we will.
Alright. So again, I don't know what they were thinking. In the textbook, why did they make the exercises like this? They did say one name. They did say Mike, so that's got to be Michael. But we don't know who the other speakers are or who's talking when, so we really can't understand it. One guy was actually criticizing Gehry in a few ways. Two main ways. One, he said Gehry's buildings are like bubblegum. Okay, can you understand what he's talking about? Bubblegum. Like, you take some bubblegum, you put it in, it's really nice, it tastes really good, and then 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, throw it away. You're bored. He's kind of saying, you look at a Gehry building, and it's interesting, it's exciting, but very quickly you get bored and you want something different, you want something new. So he's quite critical. He also thinks that Geary's engineering abilities are not being put to good use. He said he's a good engineer, he is a really good kind of builder, but he would be better building a bridge or something useful. He thinks his buildings are not very useful. They're not very good intentions. But the others really like him. They think he's the greatest architect. They're enthusiastic about him and so on. So anyway, so that's the listening. I want to listen one more time, but the exercises are a little strange. Section B has, it says listen to the discussion again, listen closely to the comments, and then check the discussion strategy. So Yenny says, what? I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. This is a way of disagreeing. So Japanese food is the best in the world. What? I wouldn't say that. I think Italian food is better. So if you mention this, I wouldn't say that, it's basically disagreeing with someone. You don't think they have the right idea. Number two, I hate to disagree, but, okay, again, this is disagreeing, obviously. I hate to disagree. I hate to disagree just kind of means I don't want to be impolite. I don't want to be too strong. So I'm really sorry, but I disagree. I don't think you have the same or the correct opinion. Number three. Okay, then what would you say about his engineering abilities? Can you say he's noteworthy for that? Alright, now, can you say he's noteworthy for that? It's a question. It's asking for an opinion, asking for ideas. Have you heard this word, noteworthy? Do you know what this means? Noteworthy. If you say something's noteworthy, you mean you think it's important or impressive. So, noteworthy. Let's take a look at a quick definition. Noteworthy says worthy of note. So noteworthy. Worthy of note or of notice. It means if you have maybe a bookstore full of 1,000 or 10,000 authors, how do you choose which books are considered important or high quality or something? You say this author or this person is better than others. You say he's noteworthy. Let's look at a few synonyms maybe. That might help. Remarkable, important, exceptional, impressive, extraordinary. Yeah, all of these. These would be really good synonyms for noteworthy. These would work really well. Okay, so she asked, what about his engineering abilities? Would you say he's noteworthy for that? So you don't like his design, but what about his engineering abilities? Is it important, impressive, something remarkable? Number 4, okay, sure, I can see that. I can see that. Similar means I can understand that. So this would be agreeing. So I can understand that. And then 5, why doesn't he put those abilities to use in a more practical way, like building bridges? So this would be asking for opinions or asking ideas. Alright, so let's go ahead and listen again. And then we'll continue on with our main textbook. We'll continue the practice section. So let's finish. Let's do one more time, and then we'll finish Frank Gehry.
Unit 8, Architecture, Frank Gehry, page 78, talk about the topic, parts A and B.
Frank Gehry's work is so cool. All those wild shapes and strange angles, that guy's kind of going to the history book as one of the greatest architects ever.
I can see why you'd say that. His buildings are distinct, but in my opinion, he'll be forgotten by history.
Huh?
Well, his work's like bubblegum. You chew it for 20 minutes, and then you're bored with it.
What? I wouldn't say that. Maybe his work might not excite you, but his buildings can be found all over the world. And, come on, they're unlike anything else.
I hate to disagree, but to me, different doesn't mean good.
Okay, then what would you say about his engineering abilities? Can you say he's noteworthy for that?
Okay, sure, I can see that. But then why doesn't he put those abilities to use in a more practical way? Like building bridges.
Okay, Mike, so you're the traditionalist.
Okay, I mean, to tell you the truth, I'm not too crazy about his work either. But I think his, I don't know how to say it, resourcefulness is inspiring.
Alright, so actually there's two people that don't like him so much. So this woman, she says, actually, I'm not too crazy about his work either. Usually, it's a more of a positive thing. I'm crazy about something. I'm crazy about sports. I'm crazy about, reading or something like that. She says, well, I'm not too crazy about. It doesn't mean she hates it. It just means she's not a really big fan. She doesn't really like it that much. But she does like that he uses a lot of kind of simple materials, kind of recycling and things like that. But, okay, so we have two people that don't really like his work that much.
Okay, I mean, to tell you the truth, I'm not too crazy about his work either. But I think his, I don't know how to say it, resourcefulness is inspiring. I mean, to use old building materials, chain link fence and plywood, it's so much better than throwing it away.
So here's our environmentalist.
Okay, well then what about you two? What are you? I mean, are you traditionalists, modernists, or what?
I don't know. What are we?
I don't know, I guess you could just call us Frank Gehry enthusiasts.
Maybe you guys should start a fan club.
Maybe we will.
Okay. Alright, so two of them likes him very much, thinks he's going to be important in history, really like his designs. One of them is quite critical, and then one of them is kind of like, he's not such a great designer, but I really like the way he uses building materials, recycling, things like that. Okay, so anyway, so Gehry, let's go ahead and finish with Gehry. If you want to use the website to review and listen one or two more times, that would be great. But for the rest of this first hour, I'd like to continue working on our review and our practice. So on page 115, I asked you for homework to try to do sections 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Have all of you had a chance to finish this? Fantastic. What good students. So you guys are much better than the evening students. The evening class, only about 10% do their homework, so you guys are good, doing good. Well, let's go ahead and check maybe section 2 together, and then if you can check the rest of the sections with your partner. Alright, section 2, this is making predictions. And it's not so easy to decide which one you should use sometimes, but there are a lot of pairs or words that team up together more often than others. So A, she will almost certainly come with us to the party. B, there may well. So may well often goes together. May well be a thunderstorm later on today. It's likely to be a fascinating evening. There's a good chance. Yeah, always, good chance. So good chance or bad chance. Probability is possible, but it would be high or low. You would say a high probability or a low probability. Especially this is common when you're talking about weather. You say, tomorrow the weather forecast says there's a high probability of rain, or a low probability of snow, something like that. So probability is usually matched with high or low, but chance is good chance or bad chance, most commonly. E, you'd better take a coat in case it gets cold later, in case it gets. And then finally, Rosa is certain. Is certain. So if you say Rosa will probably win, but this is to win, the infinitive. So it would be certain to win. Alright. So that's section 2. So section 3, 4, 5, and 6, I'd like you to check this with your partner, and then we'll check all together in just maybe 5 minutes. So anyway, same partners, just check as much as you can, and then we'll go through it together.
What will do, right?
Okay, so let's go ahead and check and see what he did. So it's a little small, but let's try. The section 3, first one should be future continuous. So will be traveling. So tomorrow I will be flying, I will be traveling, I will be studying. That would be the correct. Number 2, some people say that the Earth's oil resources, so this would be future perfect, will have run out by the end of the century. So will have run out. Number C, letter C, again, future perfect. The party will have finished by midnight, so try to get there by 10 or about 10 p.m. D should be future continuous. The children will be having their dinner when you arrive, so don't worry about the noise. And then E, when she retires next year, Miss Tyndall will have been head of the school for exactly 20 years. So is that okay?
Well, about D, the children are having is the right answer? No?
Not are having, will be having.
Okay.
Will be having. Yeah. Because if it's are having, that means now. But we're thinking in the future, they'll be doing some activity.
Right.
And then focusing on that time.
Okay.
So yeah, will be having. She's the head of the school now.
No.
Yeah, she's the head of the school. She's been the head of the school for 19 years. So next year, at the end of next year, when she retires, we will have 20 full years. So when she retires, she will have been the head of the school for 20 years. So by next year. Yeah. So she's the head of the school now too, for the last 19 years. So yeah, will have been. Alright.
Is there something ahead of? No.
Head of the school? Yeah, Miss Tyndall will have been. It should be maybe the. Yeah, the head. Because you don't have two heads. Head kind of means the main leader, the main principal of the school. So it would always be like one person. So it should be the definite article. Yeah, it should be the head. So does it say will have been? I think the head of the school is better. They're not putting in an article though at all. Zero article. So we'll be head of the school for exactly 20 years. We'll be the head of the school for exactly 20 years. I think both are fine. But not a head. Indefinite article wouldn't work because that would imply several people. But either the or the zero article. Definite or zero article would be fine. Alright. Section 4 is focusing on matching appointments. So, appointment with your boyfriend. It's possible, to be honest. Let's say your boyfriend is a really busy man, or busy woman or whatever, and always has like very little free time. Maybe you call his secretary and you make an appointment. You know, does he have time for lunch today? Or can I see him today? It's possible. Like if very busy CEO or lawyer or something, maybe you make an appointment. But that's very unusual. So appointment with boyfriend, appointment with friends doesn't really work. Dentist would be the best. So you have an appointment at the dentist. A speaker at a conference works the best. Speaker at a date? I don't think so. And a speaker at a dinner party? Probably not. Let's imagine it's a very formal dinner party. Maybe maybe a fundraiser, like a political fundraiser. You know, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, something they have a lot of people and they're having dinner party to raise money. Then yes, you would have a speaker. But for a casual, everyday dinner party, you wouldn't say a speaker. A housewarming party, school reunion, go on a date, and business associates would be the best match. Section 5, we have a matching section. So it would be an arranged marriage, a blind date, candlelit dinner. Candlelit dinner, is this considered romantic in Japan? Like in America, if you're talking about romance, people talk about like a walk on the beach and, you know, walking in the moonlight and candlelight dinner and red roses. these are kind of the symbols of romance in America. But candlelight dinner, very, very stereotypical symbol. In Japan, like if you want to have a really nice date, really nice kind of dinner, candlelight is the best. Maybe? Alright, so you kind of import maybe from the West a little bit. Alright, and then leisure activity, and then wedding anniversary would be the match. The last section, and then we'll take a break, is phrases for problems on the telephone, and you are simply trying to place the sentences or the words in the correct space. So, am I calling at a bad time? So, bad would be modifying time, the adjective modifying time. Letter B, could you speak up a bit, please? Speak up. So, speak up. Speak up a bit. Yeah, speak up a bit. Same thing with maybe speed. Let's say you're driving your car on the freeway, but you're driving pretty slow. Maybe other people say, come on, speed up, speed up. So speed up a bit. Or hurry up a bit. Anytime you're, well not anytime, but most of the time when you're making the phrasal verb, something up, you would put it together, you don't separate it. So you don't say, speed a bit up. It's not very common. Some phrasal verbs, you can. You can either put them together or you can separate, but not this one. Not this one. So yeah, speak up a bit, please. Your voice is very faint. I'll have to put you through. So this one, put through, this is separating. So with your pronoun. So put you through. I'm calling about your flight to Prague next month, and when would be a good time to ring you back? What is it? So when, would, that's right, would. So when would be? Oh, that's why. My brain put it inside, because I didn't even read it. So yeah, when be a good time, that's very strange grammar, so when would be a good time to ring back. Yeah, when be, you can't say when be. Sometimes black people say that. So, when be a good time I can call you. Sometimes, this is called Ebonics. Do you know Ebonics? Have you ever heard of Ebonics? Ebonics is kind of a dialect. It's an African-American dialect of kind of inner city language. And a lot of it you would consider as kind of unusual or very strange grammar. But because a whole group of people in America, a lot of people speak this, it's actually considered an official English dialect. And you can study it in university, it's part of linguistics classes, but it's called Ebonics. And so it's a variety of English spoken by many African Americans. Technically, Ebonics uses a lot of really strange, bad English grammar. But because it's been used for many years and such a big part of the population uses it, it's now considered a kind of a separate dialect. So an African American, especially in kind of the bigger cities like New York or Los Angeles, they might say, when be a good time to ring back. But standard English, you would never say that. It should be when would be. Would be a good time. So, anyway, let's take a break. And then when we come back, I want to spend the full second hour working on chapter 11. And then we'll do the movie third hour. So, let's take a break. Snacks!
Again.
Fantastic! Alright, so today, let's start on next chapter. So chapter 11, we have 2 chapters left. Chapter 11, chapter 12, and then we'll finish the book this term. Chapter 11, it says interfering with nature. It's kind of an interesting title. Can you understand what that means? Interfering with nature. It kind of means people or scientists trying to change or manipulate different things in nature. That could be maybe genetic changes, like changing food, changing meat, changing, cloning as well. So, Dolly, if you copy a sheep or a human, exactly that kind of thing, you say it's interfering with nature. Another way of saying it, much more critical, would be maybe playing God. Have you ever heard that? Playing God? It kind of means like people are pretending we can do what God does. I'll have my stack. So some people, if they're criticizing like the GM food and things like that, they say we shouldn't do it, we are playing God. But other people criticize almost any new technology development. For example, when the airplane was first invented, a lot of people said you should never fly. If God wanted us to fly, He would have given us wings. Yeah, that's many people, they said that. So they said God didn't intend us to fly. He didn't intend us to do many things. But then other people say, well, God gave us a brain, and our brain is very creative, our brain invents and creates new technologies, so we should use our brain. So you have these kind of two sides. Don't interfere, natural is best. Other people say, well, we should try to work hard to control our environment, to make life better. So you have these two different sides. But anyway, so this chapter is going to work on interfering with nature. That's the title. So we have a reading section. So it says reading and vocabulary. It says check the words in bold below with your mini dictionary and then mark the ideas. So 1, I think this all happens already. 2, I think this will happen in the future. And 3, I don't think this will ever happen. Alright, so A, an average life expectancy of over 100 years. Alright, so number 1, no. Not already, because it's average. Average life expectancy. That's not yet. I think this will happen in the future. Probably. Probably in the next 30, 50, 100 years. Probably the average life expectancy, maybe 100. How about B, the replacement of damaged organs using cells from human embryos? It means that maybe you can grow new organs. Now this book is a little bit outdated. Human embryos used to be the main place to get stem cells. But now the Nobel Prize in Japan, that was the iPS cells, we don't need embryos anymore. So this is probably true. Probably in the future we don't need to have a person die and then take their organs from them. We can actually grow them in a laboratory. That's very possible. So yeah, number 2, probably. How about C, human immortality? No. Never really? Okay, immortality means you never die. You never... And actually, immortality maybe means you cannot die. It might not just be aging, so... Immortality. Immortality... Okay, that doesn't work. To make immortal. So, immortal. Let's look at the adjective. Immortal. Maybe it's better. So, immortal. Okay, immortal says, okay, exempt from death. Means you cannot die. Living in perpetuity without fading or decay. Okay, so, a being who will never cease to exist. So immortality is actually a much bigger word. It's not just aging. It means any kind of danger. Any kind, hit by a car, disease, anything, you cannot die. That's immortality. Probably no, I would think. So I think C. Probably that's impossible. D. The cloning of plants and animals. One. This happens already. The cloning of human beings. Maybe happening now. Maybe
in the
you would
future.
say it's maybe unethical to do it. Unethical means you probably shouldn't do this. This is a bad action. But I think it's possible to do it now. One of the reasons why it's unethical is because to make a normal clone, maybe you have to try several times, many times. For example, Dolly the sheep, the first cloned animal, something like over 200 times they tried and they failed. By fail, it means they created some kind of a sheep, but lots of problems. It would die very quickly, or 2 heads, or 8 arms, or many, many mistakes. That means if you try this on humans, that's very, very bad behavior. That's very unethical. So it's possible to do it now, but you probably shouldn't. Or maybe governments all agree we don't do this. Not yet. Next one, eradication of infectious diseases. So eradication means completely get rid of, completely stop, destroy, finished. So no more infectious diseases. Now, infectious basically means it can spread. It means it can go from one person to another person. You say it's infectious. Do you think this is possible in the future?
No.
Impossible.
Probably impossible. We might be able to get rid of all the diseases now, but unfortunately new diseases are always, being created or mutating or changing, so maybe we can. How about a vaccination against AIDS? Definitely possible. Definitely possible. Probably quite soon. They have something called a drug cocktail. It's kind of a mix of different drugs that suppress the AIDS virus. It kind of means that rather than the AIDS virus killing someone in 5 years or 10 years, maybe it takes 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So it's almost a vaccine. It kind of lets you live almost a normal life. And then last year, some scientists in Europe developed a technique to get rid of the AIDS virus completely, but it wasn't a medicine. It was some kind of, maybe like a bone marrow transplant. Bone, it's like inside your bone, in the middle part, there's something called marrow, bone marrow. And it produces maybe your white blood cells, red blood cells. If you can do a transplant in a certain technique, you can completely get rid of the AIDS virus. But the transplant has to be a perfect match with a different person, and it's very expensive. So if you try to fix, 10 million people, 20 million people, it's impossible. But they found a technique, it works. You can get rid of AIDS. So that's possible. Treatment of hereditary diseases. So hereditary means diseases you get from your parents. It's genetics. So from your parents, your grandparents, and things like that. Do you think this is possible to fix in the future?
I heard some of this already have technique to treatment.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, you can map the human genome, you can map the human DNA, and you can find the places that have this kind of disease, and then you can remove, you can take out. So yeah, it's possible. How about cosmetic surgery to make your hands look younger? Alright, genetic engineering of embryos to make them grow up slim, athletic, etc. So this is like a designer babies. So you have a woman and she says, I want my child to be tall and very healthy and blue eyes or green eyes or purple eyes or something, and then the doctor changes something and then you have the baby. You think it's possible now or maybe in the future?
Very possible.
Yeah, very possible, very possible. Alright, so the article is something I'd like you to do actually on your own. I'd like you to read the article for homework. So this is it says big questions facing modern medical science. So we have four questions. Will we be able to live forever one day? Will we ever eliminate disease? Will it be possible to clone human beings? Will we be able to buy the perfect body? So these are kind of 4 questions that they're going to talk about. And what I'd like you to do, it says in section 2, it says read the articles, check your ideas, and it says don't worry about the gaps. Then it says, can you guess what these numbers refer to in the text? Listen and check. So is this the full article? Let me check the length. If that's the full article, that's something different. So this is 11.1. No, it's not. All right, so we have, look at these numbers. We have 2,000, 1,000,000, 20th, 75, 35, 1980s, 1997, 6, 24 hours, and 2010. So let's listen to 11.1, and maybe we can fill in the missing spaces. And then later, I'd like you to read the full article on your own. So, but let's listen. 11.1. Let's listen really quick.
Module 11, recording 1.
The Greeks first cloned plants more than 2,000 years ago.
Alright, the Greeks first cloned plants. So that would be number 5. Number 5, 2,000 years ago. So in the article, number 5, so the ancient Greeks cloned plants more than 2,000 years ago. So number 5 is 2,000.
It is believed that malaria kills around 1 million people a year, even today.
Okay, so this would be B. So it is believed, or it is estimated, that malaria kills approximately 1 million. Number 4. Number 4, 1 million people a year. Malaria. Do you all understand malaria? Do you know what that is? It's like a tropical disease. Mosquitoes kind of spread it. Bill Gates, his foundation, a huge percentage of his money is spent doing malaria research or malaria prevention. Really big part of it. Bill Gates focuses on malaria and education. Those are his 2 big things for his money.
The most dramatic increases in life expectancy occurred in the 20th century.
Okay, so this is life expectancy. So, will we be able to live forever? Okay, so this would be maybe number 2. So, it's doubtful whether dramatic increases in life expectancy occurring in the 20th century. Okay, in the 20th century.
The current average life expectancy for a woman in the developed world is 75.
Okay, so that would be number 1. So what is it, 75? Okay, so 75, number 1.
The quality of human skin begins to deteriorate from the age of about 35 on average.
Skin. Okay, the age of... Okay, so that would be number 8. So 35. So after the age of 35, the quality of your skin starts to deteriorate, and the fat over them becomes thinner. Yeah, is that true?
So sad.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think Japanese people usually have more luck than Westerners. It seems that like Japanese skin stays much better quality than like Western people, like Caucasian people. Because if you look at someone like Robert Redford. Have you seen Robert Redford recently? Oh my goodness. It's terrible. And then I saw another woman, really famous actress. What's her name? She's a really famous blonde actress.
Blonde actress.
I can't remember her name right now. But I saw some recent pictures of her. And when she was 30s and 40s, she was very nice looking, very sexy. And now she's maybe 60, 65. She looks like a monster. Like seriously, she looks like a monster. I was really shocked. So yeah, Western, like, a lot of white people, I think they don't have good luck with skin.
AIDS first became a major health problem in the 1980s.
Okay, so AIDS, health problem, 1980s. So maybe until the 1980s, number 3, humanity seemed to be winning the war against the world's major diseases. But then AIDS. Okay, so that would be, so number 3 should be 1980s.
1980.
Yeah, 1980s.
Dolly the sheep was born in 1997. She died at the age of 6. The normal life expectancy of a sheep is about 12.
Okay, so that's number 6, 1997. And then she died aged 6. So that's number 7. Number 7 is 6. So normal sheep live about 12 years, but Dolly died at 6, half the age of a normal sheep. She also suffered arthritis from an early age. Do all of you understand arthritis? Do you know what that means? Arthritis. Arthritis is a problem in your joints, like either in your wrist or your elbows or things like that, where it becomes kind of swollen and very painful. So when you kind of bend your ankles or your fingers or something, it causes you pain. That's called arthritis. So it says the sheep, Dolly the sheep, suffered arthritis from an early age and died aged 6, half the age of a normal sheep. So Dolly was the first clone, but she died early and she also had other health problems. So the cloning technique, the cloning technology is not perfect. Not yet. So maybe we shouldn't do it with people yet.
Genetic engineering of embryos is best carried out when the embryo is only 24 hours old. Scientists believe that this procedure will be possible by 2010.
Alright, so that's a couple years ago. Alright, this would be number 10. So at a price, he believes parents will be able to have 24-hour-old embryos genetically engineered, so that the child grows up slim, more athletic, or even more intelligent. So I guess, I'm not sure how they would do this, but maybe it's impossible to do it like a natural conception. But if you have a 24-hour-old embryo, tiny, tiny egg and sperm, and then the doctor or the scientist can maybe do some changes and then create very wonderful baby. But they said 2010. Is that possible? Are they doing that?
Module 11, recording 2.
I guess we missed that. Okay, so that would be the number 9 would be 2010. So by 2010, it will be possible to go much farther than plastic surgery ever will. At a price he believes parents will be able to have 24-hour-old embryos genetically engineered. Okay, so anyway, these are the numbers. So what I'd like you to do for your homework, I'd like you to just read the article, and then I'd like to do a little bit of the discussion from section 5. So section 5 just says, which of these things do you feel are positive developments, like really good for people, good for society, and then which do you think are wrong or dangerous? By wrong, it means unethical. Wrong means just it's bad, like in a moral way, unethical. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn the page. Let's go over to page 118 and take a look at our new sections. So page 118, we have a language focus. We have hypothetical situations in the present. It says, look at the photos. What similarities and differences are there between them? What's the connection between the pictures? So can you guess? Can you imagine?
She had a cosmetic surgery.
Yeah, either that or she had a lot of like Photoshop. Like computer Photoshop maybe. Actually, do I still have it? My wife sent me a really funny article Where is it? It was an article talking about in China, a man was suing his wife because his wife had a baby and the baby was really ugly. And the man said, I'm good looking. So why do we have ugly baby? And she also was good looking. But he learned that actually she was born not very good looking. And then she went to Korea and did many surgeries. So she looked really good looking when they got married, but then their children were really ugly. So he divorced her and then he sued her and said, you have to be punished, you have to pay me a lot of money for this kind of waste of time. So anyway, so this is maybe, something like this. But I thought it was a really funny article. It was on Yahoo maybe a week ago. So it says, until 1988, Cindy Jackson was just an ordinary-looking farm girl from Ohio in the United States. Then, on inheriting some money from her father, she decided to reinvent herself through cosmetic surgery. She spent about $100,000 on facelifts, nose jobs, chin reductions, implants, liposuction to remove fat from her knees, thighs, waistline. I wanted to be Barbie, says the 48-year-old. Now I am. She now runs a business in London, advising other people on cosmetic surgery. She's written 2 books and has made a video about her life and transformation. 20 years ago, I didn't exist, she says. Now life is more than I ever dreamed it would be, but I have worked very hard for everything. Having said that, I'm not interested in designer clothes. With the right face and body, you can look good in anything. I live very modestly. I have a flat in London, a second-hand Mercedes, and 3 adorable cats. I value my friends and family far above material things. Anyone who criticizes my choices probably has way too much time on their hands, and not nearly enough fulfillment in their own lives. Alright, the last couple lines. She says, I live modestly. Modestly just means I don't try to live an expensive lifestyle. I live a very simple, basic lifestyle. Modestly. And then she says, if anyone criticizes me, they have too much time on their hands. It's a little bit of a strange expression. Time on your hands. You're looking at your hands. She doesn't have to say on your hands. You could just say they have too much time. They have too much free time. It means that if they were busy and had their own life, they don't have time to look around and criticize other people. So if they criticize, it means they're just wasting their time. They're not busy with their own life. So too much time on their hands, not nearly enough fulfillment in their own lives. Fulfillment and satisfaction. It means the same thing. So they're not satisfied with their own lives. Not enough fulfillment. Alright, so number 2, section 2. I'd like you to work on this for a little bit. It says, do you think there's anything wrong with what Cindy Jackson has done? What's your opinion? And then B, which of these statements below do you most or least agree with? If I had $100,000 to spare, like extra money, I'd probably do the same thing myself. 2, I wish people would think less about their appearance and more about what really matters in life, whatever that is. 3, what if everyone went out and did the same thing? We'd all end up looking like Barbie dolls. And 4, it's time people change their attitude to plastic surgery. It's everywhere nowadays, so just accept it. Alright, so with a partner, I'd like you to work on this for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then we'll take a look at the analysis, the grammar, and then continue. So let's change partners just a little bit. Himiko, can you work with me on this one? And then, Shigeiko, Drew will come and we'll work together. So just, maybe about 10 minutes or so. Okay, so how do you feel about these questions? So number 1, if you had $100,000 to spare, I'd probably do the same thing. Anybody say yes?
No.
No. All right. Well, what would you do? First of all, what would you do with $100,000? Yeah.
If I had $100,000, I will mend my house.
Well, what would you like to change? Like change the living room? Can change the kitchen? Change outside?
Changing the floor and the flooring and the
And the walls and yeah. So make your house more beautiful, not yourself. It's a priority, yeah. All right. Okana, what would you do with $100,000?
I want traveling around the world.
Okay, so yeah, so traveling. Now, I was asking, Hideko, same thing. Would you do like many trips, or would you like really big, long trip, like a year trip or 2-year trip?
A long trip.
Okay. So how long do you think you could travel for the $100,000?
Maybe I can book very gorgeous cruise. So and it takes maybe about a year to around the world.
Yeah, maybe that'd be good. Satoko, what would you do? Yeah.
If I have a chance, I will live in Paris.
Okay. How long would you like to live there?
1 year.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be really nice. If I didn't have children, I'd probably like to go back to school. I'd like to go back to university. Maybe do another degree or maybe something like that. With kids, probably I would take some money to spend myself, my wife some money to spend, maybe around 100,000 or something, and then the rest of the money just save. Either for emergency or education or something like that. Just save it. Because $100,000, it's not enough to buy a house. And I don't want to buy a car. And traveling is fun, but I don't have, with children, with 2 small kids, traveling is kind of difficult. So maybe in 5 years or more, but not now. So probably I just want to buy a new bicycle, maybe a new computer. I need a new computer now. And maybe that's about it. I don't think I need much else. Alright, how about number 2? I wish people would think less about their appearance and more about what really matters. Jessica, agree?
Yes.
Yeah? So, okay, think about this situation. If everybody dresses just kind of very casual, t-shirts and jeans, or the situation now. So people have lots of different styles and fashions and accessories and jewelry and things like that. Which situation would be better? Everybody just does really simple clothing, and then they concentrate more on their jobs and works and friendships and things like that. They don't think about fashion. It's like a school uniform. You don't think about it. You just put it on. Or the modern, normal situation. Which do you think would be better?
Simple, right?
Maybe?
It's better.
A lot of my students, I ask them, the high school students, I ask them, do you like school uniform? They say, yeah, it's really easy. They don't have to think about anything. They just wake up, they put it on, and then they just go. Where in the States, a lot of the schools in the States, it's stressful. They have to think about being popular, think about being cool, they have to think about what's the trend, what's popular with the other classmates. It's really stressful thinking about the fashion. So it's more free, but more stress. So maybe simple fashion's better. In Japan, overall, is plastic surgery accepted, or is it kind of a little bit shameful? A little bit shameful. Yeah, in the States as well. Lots of people get plastic surgery. lots of celebrities get plastic surgery, but they're embarrassed. They kind of try to hide it. They do it, but they don't want to see people with their bandages. They don't want to tell people, next week I'm going to have a plastic surgery. It's very, very secret, and then after everything is healed, then they come back to the public. So it is kind of a shame attached to it, a stigma attached to it. But other countries, like Korea especially, or maybe Thailand, they're very, very open. Like, I was really surprised. Last year with my high school students, I did an article talking about Korea and the situation in Korea. And about 90% of my Korean students, these are 17 years old, 90% had some plastic surgery. Most of them making their eyes bigger. So a lot of the Korean eyes are a little bit thinner. And in Korea, it's very popular to have kind of bigger, rounder eyes. And they said, yeah, my mom thought it was a good idea, maybe it looks better or something. So almost everyone had it. I was really surprised. So, but anyway, this is a stigma. So stigma is maybe a disgrace or reproach attached to a person. But let's say not to a person. Let's say a disgrace or reproach attached to a situation. So for example, divorce. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, in America, if you get divorced, maybe your neighbors and your friends, everybody thinks, oh, that's so terrible, that's horrible. You say there's a really big stigma attached to divorce. But now, if you get divorced, you say, you go to a party and you say, yeah, I got divorced last year. And like, oh yeah, me too. You know, how many marriages? Oh, I'm on my third marriage. I mean, it's so common that it's not really a stigma anymore. Like, almost everybody gets divorced, so it's normal. But for plastic surgery, it's still kind of embarrassing, still kind of a stigma. It kind of means that you have to do surgery to look good. Meaning your real self is not good enough. So there's kind of some bad feelings about plastic surgery. But people do it, so. My mother got plastic surgery maybe about a year ago. Her eyes, like the top, the eyelid, got really a lot of little wrinkles, and a bit heavy, and so she wanted to have that smooth. So she got plastic surgery. And then my father, shock! My father was talking, because I thought my father would never, because for fashion and other things, he never cared. He always would go to like used clothing stores and just really basic clothes. He never cared about looks. And then he said, yeah, maybe me too, I'll get something. Like his neck, the skin on his neck was getting really loose. And he thought, maybe I'll take it back a little bit. I was like, what? I was really, really surprised. So in the States, the stigma is decreasing. Maybe in Japan too. Maybe it's decreasing, I'm not sure. But in Korea, it's gone. No stigma. So what we'll do next time is we'll take a look at the analysis. So this is talking about probably it's talking about the second conditional. So if I was, if I had, if I something, then you're talking about hypothetical situations. So we've reviewed this before many times. I'm sure almost every class you've ever taken in English talks about the conditionals. There's basically four. There's four conditionals. Zero conditional, first, second, and third. First and second conditional are talking about the future. The third conditional is always talking about the past. Zero conditional is not really present, past. It's just it always is the same. So if you heat ice, it melts. 100%. It's not future, past, it's always true. That's called the zero conditional. So on the next class, on Monday's class, we'll do a quick review of the conditionals, but this is mostly focusing on second conditional. For example, if I had $100,000 to spare, I would. I would go traveling, I would buy a sailboat, I would be happy. So this is second conditional. So we'll practice this a bit more next week. So let's take a break. When we come back, I want to work on the movie, section 8, and then we'll finish. So anyway, just relax a bit. I'll go photocopy. So, section 8 today. Okay, part of section 8 really annoys me, so we're going to have to skip part of the video. Have you watched the next section of the movie before?
Yes, once.
Yeah, when Charlie, Mr. Olna, when he is kind of pretending he's making the animal noises, the animal sounds, the monkeys and the other things. Oh, I'm so annoyed. It's so irritating, it's so annoying. So I think maybe skip that. Maybe in 1951, maybe that was comedy, maybe that was funny. But I think it's really annoying, so
me too.
Maybe skip that. What we're going to do in this section of the film, though, we're going to do a first section is true and false. So, is this subtitles or not? Which one is this? No subtitles. No subtitles. Let's do this one. Okay, so the first section is true, false, and let's quickly go through it. Number 1, Charlie's nickname for her is Dearie. Now, nickname, sometimes people say pet name. So a pet name or a nickname, it's kind of the same thing. But pet name is more common between couples. So in America, that would be maybe baby. Even if it's like an adult, you know, hey baby, what are you doing tomorrow? Or maybe dear, or pumpkin. Pumpkin, it's really common. I think my brother sometimes calls his wife Pumpkin. Or sometimes Sugar. No, these are all called pet names. So his pet name for her is Dearie. Is that true or false? Rose wonders how much damage they've done. At the very beginning of the episode here, they actually go over a waterfall. And they don't die, they survive, but there's damage to the boat, maybe. So she wonders how much damage, true or false. They have to get rid of the water to see any damage. When Charlie mentions the skin, he means the outer surface of the boat. Rose asks about the clattering they heard. Clattering. Clattering is kind of a really strange, noisy thing you hear when a motorboat or an engine doesn't work properly. So if it's making some really strange noises, loud, strange noises, you say it's a clattering. Rosie is very shocked to see Charlie in his underwear. When Charlie mentions fancy currents, he means strong or dangerous wind currents. The music suggests that there is danger nearby. Underwater, Charlie discovers that the shaft is twisted, there's a broken blade on the propeller. And when Rosie says they'll have to mend the problems, Charlie says no chance, meaning he has little hope for success. Alright, so some of these phrases are a little odd, but let's watch through it, see how many we're able to catch, and then we'll work through it a little bit later. So like I said, I'm going to skip through part of this section. So, because, yeah, the section where they're talking or making fun of the animals is really annoying to me.
Nearly done at that time, didn't we, Rosie?
I wonder how much damage we've done.
Let's get the water out and see. Better than we could have hoped for. Skin seems tight enough. No water coming in.
What was all that clattering just before we stopped?
That's what we gotta find out, old girl.
How are you going to do that, dear?
You gotta go down underneath and take a look. I hope there's no fancy currents down there. Well, here goes.
Could you see anything, dear?
Yeah. Shaft's twisted like a corkscrew and there's a blade going off the prop.
We'll have to mend it then.
Mend it? Fat chance.
Oh, why is that, dear? Oh, what should we have to do before we can go on?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what we could do if we was back in the slip at Limbazi. We could pull this old tub out and take the shaft down and haul it over to the workshop and forge it straight again. And we could write to the makers for a new prop. You might even have one in stock, kind of how this boat's only 30 years old. And while we was waiting, we could clean her bottom and paint her up. And we put the new shaft in and the new prop and go on our way as if nothing had happened. But this ain't Limbazi.
Couldn't you straighten the shaft without taking the boat up on shore?
I don't know, it might. Means working underwater.
But
Could be done, maybe.
if you could get the shaft up on shore, could you straighten it?
Oh, I ain't got no anvil, I ain't got no horse, I ain't got no coal, I ain't got nothing.
Alright, let's stop there. Because actually we can answer all of the questions for the first section now. Maybe. I can answer them, maybe. Can you? Can you answer the first couple? So his nickname for her is Dearie. False. Not Dearie, Rosie. So her name is Rose, but the nickname is Rosie. So Rosie. And actually in question 6, they actually use the name Rosie. So Rosie is shocked. That's kind of maybe a mistake. They shouldn't have said that. Number 2, Rose wonders how much damage they've done. True. They have to get rid of the water to see any damage. True. When Charlie mentions the skin, he means the outer surface of the boat.
True.
Yeah, true. Because he says the water isn't coming in from the boat, just from over the top it came in. So that's true. Rose asked about the clattering they heard.
False.
True.
True.
So she said, what was that clattering? What was the sound? So when they were going down the waterfall, you hear that kind of like that metal, like clang, clang, clang. She said, what was that? What was that clattering? Rose is very shocked to see Charlie in his underwear.
False.
No, she doesn't seem shocked at all. Charlie mentions fancy curtains. He means strong or dangerous wind currents. False. Not wind. That's a bit strange. So he's going to go under the water, under the boat. A fancy current. It's a little strange, but he kind of means maybe strong or dangerous water currents. Meaning, if he goes under the water and starts swimming, maybe suddenly a water current like pulls him away, takes him away. So it could be dangerous. The music suggests that there is danger nearby. False. Did you hear the music? It's very happy and cheerful. It's like a Disney movie. It's not dangerous at all. I mean, if you watch some movies, and like a horror movie, or Jaws, that's danger's coming. But that is not danger coming. I don't think so anyway. It sounds really, really lighthearted and happy. So. Underwater, Charlie discovers the shaft is twisted, a broken blade on the propeller. True, yeah. He says the prop or the shaft is twisted like a cork screw. So you have the engine, and then from the engine you have this long metal, straight metal, and that spins. Then you have the blades, like the fan blades. That's the prop. And so he says the corkscrew, the shaft has been twisted like a corkscrew, like a wine opener, a corkscrew. So it's very big damage. And then one of the blades, so same thing on a fan. A fan usually has 3 blades. One of the blades is broken off. So it won't work properly. So that was true. And then when Rose says they'll have to mend the problems, Charlie says no chance, meaning he has little hope for success. Kind of true. He didn't say no chance, he said fat chance. But it means the same thing. If you ask someone, is this possible? And they say, yeah, fat chance. It means no, it's impossible.
Fat chance?
Fat, F-A-T. Fat chance, yeah. It's, I don't know if it's American or British, I guess possibly both. But yeah, fat chance means, yeah, on the board, fat chance means little or no opportunity or prospect. It means very unlikely. Fat chance just means you don't think it's possible. So for synonyms, no, they have no synonyms. They don't have any synonyms. So just unlikely, probably won't happen, probably can't do it. So yeah, fat chance. Okay, so fat chance. So he didn't say no chance, he said fat chance. But it means little hope for success.
Oh, sorry.
Why don't you change your name to Bond?
I should.
You should have done Bond. Yeah, I don't know why you're doing Mission Impossible.
Sorry.
You should be Bond.
I
keep
should.
saying James
Yeah, I
Bond.
should. I heard that.
All right, so 10 should be true. I think maybe the person who made the worksheet just kind of made a mistake. It should be fat chance. No chance, fat chance basically means the same thing. And so, yeah, he doesn't think it's possible to fix the boat. So he said, if we were in Limbazi, and Limbazi is this town, this African city, he said we'd pull the boat out of the water, we'd take the shaft off, we'd take it to maybe a blacksmith, like a workshop, we would heat up the metal, we'd fix it, then we would ask maybe from a catalog, we'd get the prop, we'd wait, and we'd paint this road, we'd have lots of, it's okay, we could fix it. But here, we have no tools, we have no coal, we have nothing to do it with. He thinks, fat chance, impossible, we cannot fix it. Alright, so let's go back, let's watch this scene again. And then we'll continue with the section 2. Section 2 is going to be just choosing the word you hear, choosing the right word. So, alright, so have you noticed that this is always this kind of, I think it's a mannequin. I think it's a mannequin that they maybe tied onto the boat, because it's always the same position, and it never moves. So this is like, I think it's like a real boat, they send it over the waterfall, but of course too dangerous for a human. So just a dummy, a mannequin, that's all.
I wonder how much damage we've done.
Let's get the water out and see. Yeah. Better than we could have hoped for. Skin seems tight enough. No water coming in.
What was all that clattering just before we stopped?
That's what we gotta find out, old girl.
How are you going to do that, dear?
You gotta go down underneath and take a look. Oh, there's no fancy currents down there. Well, here goes. Shaft's twisted like a corkscrew and there's a blade going off the prop.
We'll have to mend it then.
Mend it? Fat chance.
Oh, why is that there? Oh, what shall we have to do before we can go on?
Okay, so that's it. So now this is section 2. It just says choose the word. So Rose says, why is that dear? So he says fat chance. Why is that dear? What do we have to do? What should we have to do? Which should she say? Let's go back just a few seconds.
Fat chance.
Oh, why is that there? Oh, what shall we have to do before we can go on?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what we can do if we was back in the slip at Limbazi. We could pull this old tub out and take the shaft down and haul it over to the workshop and forge it straight again. And we could write to the makers for a new prop. You might even have one in stock, kind of how this boat's only 30 years old. And while we was waiting, we could clean her bottom and paint her up. And we put the new shaft in and the new prop and go on our way as if nothing had happened. But this ain't Limbazi.
Couldn't you straighten the shaft without taking the boat up on shore?
I don't know, it might. Means working underwater.
But
Could be done, maybe.
if you could get the shaft up on shore, could you straighten it?
Oh, I ain't got no anvil, I ain't got no horse, I ain't got no coal, I ain't got nothing.
I saw a Mazar native working once using charcoal on a big hollow stone. He had a boy to fan the charcoal.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. I use a bellows myself. Make one easy enough.
Well, if you think that would be better.
Yeah, well, lots of firewood on the bank.
Why don't you try it?
Ain't no use, Rosie. I was forgetting the prop. The blade's gone.
Can't we go on the blades that are left?
Oh, the prop would be out of balance. The shaft would be all twisted up like a corkscrew again.
We'll have to make a new blade then. There's lots of iron and stuff that you could use.
Yeah, tie it on.
Well, if you think that would do, but wouldn't it be better to weld it on? Isn't that the right word, dear? Weld it on?
You're the one, Rosie, really, you are.
But isn't weld the right word, dear? You know what I mean, even if it isn't, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's it. Maybe okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and check. So what do? I don't think either. I thought it was shall. I thought it was shall. What shall we do? Good. Let's listen.
Do you see anything, dear?
Yeah. Shaft's twisted like a corkscrew and there's a blade going off the prop.
We'll have to mend it then.
Mend it? Fat chance.
Oh, why is that there? Oh, what shall we have to do before we can...
Well, it's not do. It's definitely not do.
No.
But it's either what should we have to do, what shall we have to do.
What should?
Yeah, but it's not do. So I guess it's what should we have to do. But that's a really strange expression though. Alright, number 2. Could. Alright. Now slip. The vocabulary, a couple of vocabulary here. Okay, a slip. Back in the slip. I think a slip is maybe kind of like a harbor. Like a small place where you dock your boat, you park your boat. For the vocabulary on the back, a slip would be, maybe number 8. Would be nautical English for a docking place for a boat between 2 piers. So this would match with number 8. A slip would match with number 8. So it's a place to dock your boat, a place to park your boat would be a slip. The next one, old tub. Tub is often if it's just tub. If you say tub, it kind of means like a bathtub, like in your bathroom. But here it means the boat. An old tub means an old boat. pretty common way to say it. The shaft is kind of the long round iron that kind of turns the prop. Forge is straight. Forge is both a noun, it's a verb as well. A forge would be like a workshop where you heat up metal really, really hot, yellow or red metal, and then you can bend it. That would be a forge, the place. But to forge kind of means, the same thing, the activity. So like a blacksmith, you would say is forging something. So forge. So this is our verb, so that's the noun. So yeah, number 1, to form by heating and hammering, by heating and pressure, or by pressure alone. So it kind of means that if you have something metal that you need to straighten out, you heat it up really hot, then you kind of can, it's softer, you can reform it, you can reshape it. So this is forge. We could forge it straight. Next one, we could write to the makers for a new prop. Makers would be just the company who made the product. We say the maker. Next one should be shore. So get the shaft up on the shore.
I heard the bank shore.
Bank shore?
Yeah.
Really?
Both.
Really? Okay. You may be a special man.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see what they say.
The bellows myself. Make one easy enough.
Wheel back.
Plot them and paint her up. Then we put the new shaft in and the new prop and go on our way as if nothing had happened. But this ain't Limbazi.
Couldn't you straighten the shaft without taking the boat up on shore?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Should be sure. I think. So next one should be. Oh well, do you know hearth? Do you know what a hearth is? So number 4, I ain't got no anvil. I ain't got no hearth. I ain't got no coal. I ain't got nothing. Alright, but okay, anvil? Do you understand an anvil? An anvil is kind of like a really heavy piece of metal with a flat top. So you put your other metal on top, and then between you hammer it. But that big heavy piece of metal, that would be your anvil. Hearth is kind of like a stove. It's a place where you have very hot fire. And then coal is usually the material you use to burn, to make things really hot. You use coal. So he says, I ain't got nothing, meaning I don't have the materials or the tools to do this kind of job. He thinks impossible. Maasai. Maasai is, it's in the box. It says it's spelled Maasai or Maasai, are an ethnic group of semi-nomadic people located in Kenya and northern Tanzania. So they're basically saying, okay, listen, if you're in Limbazi, you have the normal Western tools to do this, but I've seen African natives do something similar. Why don't we copy them? Let's do how they do it. And then maybe we can fix it here. So he had a boy to fan the charcoal. Kind of needs to make it hotter. The bellows, I'd use a bellows. Do you know bellows? Yeah, me too. I don't know how to describe it anymore. A bellows would be kind of like an air pump, like a bicycle pump. If you have, let's say you have a fire and you have, well, have any of you been camping? Or maybe in your house you make a fire, like a fireplace. You know, you start the fire going and you blow on it, it makes it hotter. If you have coals and then you have maybe like a fan and you fan it, it gets hotter and hotter. But there's another way. You can have some kind of maybe an empty container and then you push and it blows out heat, air. Then you let go and then you push, you let go, you push. That's called a bellows. And so a lot of the European blacksmiths, the European kind of people that do this work, they use a bellows. They don't, or they used to. They used to use a bellows, not a fan. So bellows, let's see what kind of definition they have for it. But a bellows. Bellows. So a bellows is an instrument for producing a current of air to blow up a fire. Or an organ or an accordion or something. So yeah, an accordion. Do you know the instrument? Accordion, people kind of bring it back. That's kind of a bellows. So, same idea. What else? Okay, could make one easy enough. Can't we go on the blades that are left? So there's 2 blades on the propeller, or the, sorry, not propeller. Propeller, do you know what a propeller is? Propeller is on an airplane. And then a fan, you just, what do you say a fan? This blade's a fan blade. But if it's a boat, you say a prop. So the blade's on the prop. And he says, no, the prop would be out of balance. The shaft would be all twisted up like a corkscrew again. So we'll have to make a new blade then. There's lots of iron and stuff you could use. And so he's thinking that this is, well, how can I describe it? I mean, I think you can understand what's happening, but he understands how difficult it is to do all these things without the proper tools. She doesn't. So she's like, can't we do this? Can't we do this? She has a very strong spirit, like never give up. Let's just do it. But he thinks, we're finished, it's over, impossible. So she's kind of inspiring him, encouraging him. So yeah, they may be really good together. And then, well, if you think that would do, he said maybe tie it on. He's joking. But she says, wouldn't it be better to weld it on? Do you understand weld? Do you know what that means? Do we have any welding here? No, I don't see any welding. But welding means you take 2 pieces of metal and then you melt metal in the middle. And then it kind of sticks together. That's called welding. So any kind of bicycle or anything like that, you have the pieces welded together. How do you weld? There. How do you weld in Africa? Have any of you? Have you ever tried welding?
No.
I've done welding a few times. The welding I used was an arc welder. Arc welding is you use a kind of an electric generator, and you get the spark between the 2 places. So there's an electric spark in between. It's very, very hot. And then you can melt metal, and then it'll drip into the place you want. You make a pattern, and it kind of keeps things together. That's called an arc welder. And I've done that, but this is totally different. This would be very, very difficult. So isn't that the right word? Weld it on. And then I think he said, you're a one. You're a one. Basically, it means the same thing as special. Like, you're amazing. You're fantastic. You're great. You're a one. Should be a one. So you're a one, Rosie. You really are.
I don't know. It might working underwater. Could be done, maybe.
If you could get the shaft up on shore, could you straighten it?
Oh, I ain't got no anvil, I ain't got no horse, I ain't got no coal, I ain't got nothing.
I saw a Mazar native working once using charcoal on a big hollow stone. He had a boy to fan the charcoal.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. I use a bellows myself. Make one easy enough.
Well, if you think that would be better.
Lots of firewood on the bank.
Why don't you try it?
Ain't no use, Rosie. I was forgetting the prop. The blade's gone.
Can't we go on the blades that are left?
Oh, the prop would be out of balance. Its shaft would be all twisted up like a corkscrew again.
We'll have to make a new blade then. There's lots of iron and stuff that you could use.
Yeah, tie it on.
Well, if you think that would do, but wouldn't it be better to weld it on? Isn't that the right word there, weld it on?
You're a one, Rosie, really you are.
Well, isn't well the right word there? You know what I mean, even if it isn't, don't you?
Okay, so 10, the right word, and then you're one. Okay, so next section is just filling in missing words. So, Olna, I swallowed half the river that time. This is actually a pretty common expression. If you're in a river, you say, I swallowed half the river. If you're in a lake, I swallowed half the lake. If you're in the ocean, I swallowed half the ocean. It's just an expression meaning I somehow choked or made a mistake and I actually swallowed water when I was swimming, when I was underwater. So I don't know why he would swallow half the river. Because he's not doing, I mean, he's just down right below. So I'm not sure why he did that. But so anyway, so you were down there and long time. So Anne gives you a clue. Do you have any idea? Anne. It should be, I think it'll be awfully. You were down there an awfully long time. I'm pretty sure. So I was scared.
I swallowed half the river that time.
You were down there an awfully long time. How you scared?
The shaft don't seem to want to come out. It's stuck like.
Charlie,
Huh?
let me help you.
What do you mean? What do you think you're going to do?
I'm going to go down there too.
Rosie, are you cracked? The currents down there are fierce. I want to drown this woman on my hands. What will you be thinking of next? Well, here goes. I don't think I should have ever come to Africa. I might have. But then I wouldn't have met you, Rosie, old girl. Yeah. Not as good as I can get it. It takes long either. Clay will be a different thing. I gotta make that. Next one was it's stuck. Stuck like. So he's trying to get it off, he's trying to get it back on the shore, but it's stuck. Next one, I'm gonna go down there too. Rosie, are you cracked? Cracked is another word for crazy. Like, it's really bad decision, really bad choice. So I mean, cracked can be like your cup is cracked, or something like that. A window is cracked, but it also means crazy. So let's see, cracked. So this is an adjective. So these are verbs, adjectives. Expert, okay, that's a little different. That's crack. Alright, that's closer. Crackers would be crazy or unbalanced. You say someone is cracked, crazy or unbalanced. Let's see. Okay, crack brain would be a crazy person. So, yeah, so anyway, so she says, I'm going to go down there too. I'm going to help you. He says, no, it's too dangerous, impossible. Are you cracked? Are you crazy? You have to stay here. You have to be safe. And he says the currents down there are... Okay, let's watch. Oh, but it ain't the right Ain't no use, Rosie. I was forgetting the prop. The blade's gone.
Can't we go on the blades that are left?
Oh, the prop will be out of balance. Its shaft will be all twisted up like a corkscrew again.
We'll have to make a new blade then. There's lots of iron and stuff that you could use.
Yeah, tie it on.
Well, if you think that will do, but wouldn't it be better to weld it on? Isn't that the right word, dear? Weld it on?
You're the one, Rosie, really you are.
Well, isn't weld the right word, dear? You know what I mean, even if it isn't, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
You were down there an awfully long time. Were you scared?
The shaft don't seem to want to come out. It's stuck like.
Charlie,
Huh?
let me help you.
What do you mean? What do you think you're going to do?
I'm going to go down there too.
Rosie, are you cracked? The currents down there are fierce.
Fierce. Fierce is often describing an animal. If you say like a wolf or a tiger or something that's very fierce, kind of means dangerous or aggressive. But you can also use it for like water. If you say an ocean or maybe the weather or something, you can say is fierce. So the currents down there are fierce. So savage, ferocious. Number 4, violent, severe. So the currents down there are fierce. Do they look fierce? When he's underwater, it looks very calm and peaceful and so on. He's acting like it's some really dangerous place, but it doesn't look like it to me, not in the movie. But he says, yeah, the currents down there are fierce.
Want a drowned woman on my hands? What will you be thinking of next? Well, here goes.
Okay, so that would be kind of a bellows. The thing that she's pumping, that would be the bellows.
My own dad had put me to blacksmith when I was a kid. I don't think I should have ever come to Africa.
Okay. My dad had put me to... Okay, so I've mentioned this word a few times already today. Alright, if you're someone who makes things from metal, okay, so blacksmith would be the noun, and then the activity, often people say blacksmithing. Blacksmithing. So blacksmithing is kind of the job, the activity. So he says, if my dad had maybe encouraged me or made me become a blacksmith, do blacksmithing, then I would have never come to Africa. So blacksmith would be so a smith who works in iron, that would be the noun. Someone who works with metal and iron. And then blacksmithing, maybe they don't have the verb. No, they don't have the verb. But a blacksmith would be the person who works with iron. They fix machines and they fix like horseshoes and they do a lot of things like that. And blacksmithing would be the activity, the verb. So it says, if my dad had put me to blacksmithing when I was a kid, I don't think I would have ever come to Africa.
I might have. Oh, then I wouldn't have met you, Rosie, old girl. Not as good as I can get it. It takes so long either. Clay will be a different thing. I gotta make that.
So that's as good as I can get it. As good as I can get it.
About as good as I can get it.
Yeah, about as good as I can get it. Didn't take so long neither.
Long neither. Blade will be a different thing.
The blade. The blade will be a different thing.
I gotta make that.
I gotta make that. Yeah, so blade is more difficult, I've gotta make that.
I might have. Oh, then I wouldn't have met you, Rosie, old girl. About as good as I can get it. It takes so long neither. Blade will be a different thing. I gotta make that.
They've used this expression before.
Full head.
Yeah, that's close. Full head.
Full head.
A full head of steam. Full head. So a full head of steam just means the steam engine is at its highest degree. It's working at the most power. You say it's a full head of steam. You can use this with boats, you can use this with trains, you say a full head of steam. You can even use this with people. Maybe if someone is running or doing some kind of sports and they're working at their highest degree, you say he's at his full head of steam. So you can use it for a few different things. Alright, let's quickly review the vocabulary and then we can watch part of this again. So, number one, a furnace used for heating metal. That would be a hearth. That's the hearth. So that would be section, well that would be number 4. I ain't got no hearth. Number 2, a mechanical device that blows strong currents of air to make a fire burn more fiercely. That would be the bellows. A metaphor for distorted like a device for drawing corks from a wine bottle. So corkscrew. So what was it? Twisted like a corkscrew? Or, yeah, the shaft is twisted. Yeah, twisted like a corkscrew. A revolving rod that transmits motion in a car or boat. Shaft. Yeah, the shaft. A short metaphor for a boat that is not much better than a bathtub. So this was old tub. Yeah, this old tub. Available for sale. Available for sale. In stock. In stock. And this is still used a lot today. I mean, if you go to a website and you check and see, can I buy this? And they say, no, sorry, it's out of stock. Or it's in stock. So it just means you can buy it. It's there. Like sold out would be out of stock. Making a rattling sound would be clanking or clattering. Clattering. Nautical English, that would be the, what was it again? Nautical English. The slip. Slip. The slip. A fireplace of a blacksmith's place. Oh, the fireplace of a blacksmith's place. That would be the hearth. Yes, I made it. Forge. Forge. Alright, so that would be the forge. I think number 1 and number 9 are almost exactly the same. A hearth and a forge. I think it's the same. Let's take a look. So a hearth. So a hearth would be... It doesn't really have a good definition. Alright, yeah, there's synonyms. So both of them. So we have forge and hearth. So types of fireplace. So a place where you build a really hot fire. So it would be a forge or a hearth. Forge is only used for like a blacksmith. A hearth can be like just a normal house, like a fireplace. You can say maybe, I like to read in front of the hearth, in front of the fireplace. It's the same thing. But you would never say forge. That's 100% only inside a blacksmith's kind of place. And then the last one is to join metals by applying heat. So this would be weld. To weld. Okay, so let's watch part of this with the subtitles, and we'll finish up in a second. So let's go ahead with that.
Better than we could have hoped for. Skin seems tight enough. No water coming in.
What was all that clattering just before we start?
That's what we gotta find out, old girl.
How are you going to do that, dear?
You gotta go down underneath and take a look. I hope there's no fancy currents down there. Well, here goes.
Could you see anything, dear?
Yeah. Shaft's twisted like a corkscrew and there's a blade going off the prop.
We'll have to mend it then.
Mend it? Fat chance.
Oh, why is that, dear? Oh, what shall we have to do before we can go on?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what we can do if we was back in the slip of Limbazi. We could pull this old tub out and take the shaft down and haul it over to the workshop and forge it straight again. And we could write to the makers for a new prop. You might even have one in stock, kind of how this boat's only 30 years old. And while we was waiting, we could clean her bottom and paint her up. And we put the new shaft in, the new prop, and go on our way as if nothing had happened. But this ain't Limbazi.
Couldn't you straighten the shaft without taking the boat up on shore?
I don't know, it might. Means working underwater.
But
could be done, maybe.
if you could get the shaft up on shore, could you straighten it?
Oh, I ain't got no anvil, I ain't got no horse, I ain't got no coal, I ain't got nothing.
I saw a Mazar native working once using charcoal on a big hollow stone. He had a boy to fan the charcoal.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. I use a bellows myself. Make one easy enough.
Well, if you think that would be better.
Well, lots and lots of firewood on the bank.
Why don't you try it?
No. Ain't no use, Rosie. I was forgetting the prop. The blade's gone.
Can't we go on the blades that are left?
Oh, the prop will be out of balance. Its shaft will be all twisted up like a corkscrew again.
We'll have to make a new blade then. There's lots of iron and stuff that you could use.
Yeah, tie it on.
Well, if you think that would do, but wouldn't it be better to weld it on? Isn't that the right word, dear? Weld it on?
You're the one, Rosie, really you are.
Well, isn't weld the right word, dear? You know what I mean, even if it isn't, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Alright, so let's go ahead and stop there. But the last scene I think is quite interesting because he's being kind of sarcastic in a way. She's being very literal, very kind of like, let's do it, we can do it, let's try it, what do we do? So that kind of interplay is kind of interesting, I think. So anyway, so that's chapter 8, so we're finished. So the last couple of questions, think about it. So do you understand what has happened? Why is he being sarcastic about what they could do? And why are they such a good team? Well, he's being sarcastic because he thinks it's kind of impossible to do this activity. He thinks it's too difficult, why try? They're a good team maybe because she doesn't know what's impossible. So she kind of pushes him and actually makes him see that things are actually different. So he thinks impossible, I can't do it, give up. But she doesn't know that, so she makes him realize we could really do it. So, yeah, they're a nice team together. Anyway, that's it. So let's go ahead, let's finish up. The only homework for today would be just that reading. So the reading on the beginning of page, this is what, page 117. So if you can do this reading, and then if there's any vocabulary questions or anything like that, you can ask me next time. And then if we can do just a little bit of the discussion from section 5. We'll work on that next time.